The Raptors snapped their 11-game losing streak with a W. Immanuel Quickley returns. Happy New Year, everyone! The Raptors win. Let's go to the film room. Immanuel Quickley returned to action for the first time since November 10th and poured in 21 points and 15 assists with a plus 23 night. He was absolutely sensational. And it started as a playmaker, setting the tone in transition by finding guys. Started out a little bit cold offensively as a scorer, but that came in the second half. But really, it came down to how much the Raptors desperately needed a point guard and what that did for everybody else. It put them in their respective places. You know, IQ brings up the ball, pitches it to Jakob, who finds a cutting Grady Dick for the finish. That is the exact roles that those players should be in. Keep pushing it. IQ, quick to Grady for the three. Got his first bucket by rejecting a Scottie screen and then stepping back for the mid-range jump shot. Really like how much pressure he puts on the defense in transition just because they're so scared of that pull-up shooting threat that he's able to open up the floor for his teammates. Love how many double drag screens they were running for IQ. So here is a double drag between Jakob and Ochai. This time he uses it, gets his defender in jail, and settles for the floater and one. Another double drag set here from the Raptors that ends up in an IQ floater. Same idea here. This time Ochai slips, and great job recognizing the slip from IQ. And they just kept spamming this play. They just kept spamming this play, and it worked really marvelously. It opens up the floor for a guy like IQ to have two screeners involved in the action so that one, he can either use that little second to get downhill, or if there's a miscommunication, his pull-up shooting ability just creates a really, really easy shot for the Raptors. Shout out to Evan Gilberto, who mentioned this is skip the 77 double drag, where, you know, it's a double drag screen, but they skip it to Jakob Poeltl, who dumps it off to IQ. Defense commits. He kicks it out to the corner for Grady. And that, my friends, is an excellent out-of-timeout play by Darko Rajakovic. I just want to mention it because there's been a lot of heat on Darko. Good coaching there. Some nice connections between Jakob and IQ in the pick and roll. This time he finds him in the pocket for the finish. Next possession down, instead of, you know, using the screen, he just dumps it off to Jakob, who finishes inside. Same set here, double drag, and, you know, IQ uses it, gets all the way around, and a wild wraparound pass to Ochai for the three. That is an incredible pass, y'all. And this was when the Raptors sealed the deal. Ochai block, IQ comes down, pulls up, hits a logo three, and starts skipping. I mean, look, the vibes were incredible for tonight. It was huge to get IQ back. Everything made sense with him as the ball handler, with him as a point guard on the floor, and I'll get to why it made sense for Scottie Barnes, who had an excellent game as well. But for IQ to come back after 2 months of missing action with the elbow injury and look the way that he did, it's really promising for the 2025 version of this Toronto Raptors team. And so IQ, really, really important to the Raptors. Who would have thought, folks? Who would have thought the second highest paid player on the roster would be important to the process? Yeah, crazy to think, right? Seriously, it all made sense for the Raptors tonight, and I don't want to understate how important Quick was to just the hierarchy of the Raptors offense. Grady had a great game tonight. It just felt like, you know, being lower on the scouting report, having to just live in the, I guess, liminal spaces of the offense, you know, catch and shoot jump shots, cutting backdoor to find openings, working off of the advantages of Scottie and IQ creating. That is what Grady can excel at on this team. I thought Jakob had a great game. Jacoby punched in with that second unit and really was able to stretch his legs. So when he was playing with the starters, Jacoby was playing similar to a Grady role, coming down off of wide pins, catch and shoot jump shots, etc., etc. As the second unit guy, he was sort of leading the bench, which I actually really am intrigued by. We'll probably do more videos on as we see this progress, but he was the lead creator for that bench unit. And while they did struggle for a little bit, I'm intrigued to see how Jacoby can stretch his legs in a wider offensive role, because I think they're intrigued by his ball handling ability, which I mentioned a couple months ago with Jacoby. Overall, though, really, really impressive game from the Raptors. Look, admittedly, it's the Brooklyn Nets. They've been selling, the farm, if you will, and trading their players, trading Dennis Smith Jr. They didn't trade. Well, they technically did trade Dennis Smith Jr., but no, they traded Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith. They're looking to trade Cam Johnson, so they're in a bit of they're moving towards rebuilding more, even though they've been really competitive to start the season. But folks, you get your wins when you can take them. You take your wins when you can take them. And the Raptors absolutely did. They needed this one. I understand that, like, lottery balls and rebuilds and all that type of stuff. But, like, for chemistry, for camaraderie, for buy-in, for, kind of all those types of intangible things, getting a win after losing 11 in a row was super big. Getting Immanuel Quickley back was super big. And the vibes were excellent tonight. You could tell that things just were easier. And it was easier especially for Scottie Barnes. I saw, Scottie did not have a good game against the Boston Celtics. Struggled. I broke it down for you guys in the last recap. I think we had nearly 70 comments in that video talking about why Scottie isn't built for this. Scottie isn't the number one option. Scottie isn't this. Scottie isn't that. Scotty's not this. Scotty's overrated. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? And so a lot of reactionary takes based on a really bad stretch of basketball from the All-Star. And that comes with the territory, truthfully. I think back to what Joe Mazzulla said in Starting Five about Jason Tatum. You're blessed with the opportunity to get that type of hate. It comes with the territory of being the franchise player for an NBA team, right? That's just how it works when you're a guy in Scottie Barnes' shoes. That being said, it was reactionary, and I hope it wasn't anything based off what I said, because I still believe in Scottie Barnes' ceiling as a player. I still think Scottie is going to be a tremendous player, and we saw that tremendous player tonight because Immanuel Quickley made his life easier. Let's go to the film room for that. So, of course, this has become a patent shot for Scottie Barnes, and he was given the opportunity to do that. When Immanuel Quickley was off the floor, Scottie was still able to get into his experimental bag, and that turnaround jumper has become a real big part of it. But he also just makes life easier. Here, inside, flashes, middle, finishes in the dunker spot. Watch how much pressure IQ is getting, and so in the middle of the floor, Scottie just gets right inside and finishes. Scottie was 9 of 10 inside the paint tonight. A lot of them were assisted. Obviously, this mid-range craft is something that Scottie is developing, and that's part of his game. Like, I want to see him expand that more, because when teams start to wall off the paint, he can get to that mid-range shot. I thought he did an excellent job of that tonight. In transition, IQ to Scottie for the finish. Still able to see that playmaking from Scottie too, so with that extra ball handler, still opportunities for Scottie to make plays like this. But I love the motion to the Raptors offense, and things make sense when Quick is with the ball. Double drag screen again. Jakob comes for the pick and roll. Ochai tries to attack. Nothing is there. Then Scottie pitches it back to Ochai. Ochai drives around, wraparound pass to Grady for the three. There's so much motion there. That, my friends, is 0.5 offense, 0.5 basketball. Really enjoy when they use guards as screeners for Scottie, and Ochai has been probably the main guy so far this season. Gets the switch for Scottie, and Scottie against this switch is just going to abuse. Great job doing it, creating advantage for Jakob. Split action between Scottie and IQ, and I think that's super important. It weaponizes what they're both good at. IQ with his pull-up shooting ability and Scottie's downhill gravity. Great job here. Scottie draws the foul. And like I said, he's still able to experiment even with Quick on the roster. Inverted pick and roll, gets the switch, turnaround jumper, splash. But look how much easier life is, man. Like, he can just feast on the inside. Great job here of sealing off his defender in the paint. Basically the same idea here between IQ and Scottie. Watch as IQ looks for Scottie initially, can't find it, and then instead just pick and roll, finds him in the dunker, alley-oop. And the lower Scottie Barnes is in the offense, so in the paint or post area, he's able to weaponize his passing more, draws the help here because he's got the mismatch and finds Kelly for the lay. And I actually think because IQ was back and the ball handling responsibilities weren't only on Scottie, he was actually better on defense. And that really showed tonight too. And as you see here, IQ, quick dump off to Scottie. And so life was easy for Scottie Barnes. He was still able to have a mixed bag, right? He still took 3 threes or 4 threes and made a couple. He still got to the free throw line, was still creating his own offense, especially when it was him running that second unit. He worked well with Immanuel Quickley. IQ helped Scottie be lower in the offense, working from the free throw line area and inside the paint. And so it just worked better, y'all. I mean, that was the reason that they traded for Immanuel Quickley in the first place. I am on wax here, and on the writing that I do, saying that I think Scottie and IQ is a perfect pairing. It is a perfect pairing basketball-wise to have this pull-up three-point shooter who can create off of the bounce, hopefully be able to grow as a scorer and offensive weapon himself. I mean, IQ has to develop in certain areas too, especially in the ball handling category and working in tight spaces. But having that type of player next to a guy like Scottie, who could be really, really talented as a screener, who can work in the lower half of the floor offensively, who is a great passer himself, who is so strong and can finish on the inside and hunt out mismatches, and is now working this mid-range craft that he has. All of that makes so much sense as a pairing on the basketball court. And outside of that, in the peripheral stuff, like you see Grady dominating. You see Ochai having a really impactful two-way game where he's defending his butt off on one end, making shots on the other, making decisions on the other. Grady Dick, same thing. Things just make more sense with Immanuel Quickley on the roster. And I'm excited because I imagine that, RJ Barrett is coming back soon too. I hope this illness isn't going to hold him out for any longer. Hope he's okay. And once RJ comes back, we'll be able to see what a fully healthy Raptors team looks like. But so far, so good, folks. And I get it. It's the Brooklyn Nets. They're not that good of a team. The Raptors have gone through a tough schedule with Memphis and Atlanta and Boston and three teams and the Knicks, teams that have been playing really, really good basketball. Tough schedule. And by the way, they have a tough schedule ahead as well. It's going to be tough. There's Boston, there's New York, they've got Orlando a couple times. It's going to be hard basketball this month too, but at least you're going into it with your best guys. At least you're going into it with everybody's roles making sense. And this isn't some sort of knock on Scottie Barnes, the player. You need to have players that can accentuate the strengths of your all-star in order for them to maximize their own potential. And I wanted to bring up a funny Reddit post that I saw. Shout out to one of my friends who sent this over to me, but I wanted to illuminate something that kind of I think is important for you guys to recognize. So this is from a Thunder fan, an Oklahoma City Thunder fan 3 years ago. Basically a Reddit post asking if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is overrated. He's the primary option, doesn't seem to make any improvements in his game, and is still pretty passive. I think everyone just needs to be realistic about him. At best, he's a third option on championship team, but I don't think you build a whole enchilada around him when Kent Bazemore, and Lou Dort are outplaying him most nights. I realize that's going to be unpopular, but I think that's got to become a realization. He's a good player, but not this franchise altering guy. Clearly, SGA is a franchise altering guy. Likely, he will be winning the Oklahoma City Thunder their first championship in franchise history. I think that they are going to win in 2025. Maybe they don't, but eventually I think he will. He's going to turn into an MVP in this league. And so there was a time where there were Thunder fans, and maybe this was a loud minority, if you will, or whatnot, that didn't believe SGA was a franchise-altering player. If you remember, there were people that thought, hey, put the ball in Josh Giddey's hands. He's the point guard. Let's see what he can do. We need to develop Josh Giddey. And, that was a thing the Oklahoma City Thunder were trying to do. And ultimately, Shai proved to be far and away the best player on that team. He proved to be a franchise-altering player. And the Thunder have built the perfect team around him with shooting, defense, great rim protection, great grab, just like everything that you could imagine from a championship contender. I'm not saying that Scottie Barnes is going to become SGA. I'm not saying that Scottie Barnes is going to become an MVP player. But I'm just saying that we got to be patient with this process because we don't know what we have until you have it. And that goes for everybody. That doesn't just go for Scottie. Again, I'm not saying that Scottie is going to become SGA. I'm just using this as an example to say, be patient with what you're seeing on the floor because we still don't know what we're seeing on the floor. It takes so long for these things to materialize and for players to get better and to get into the gym in the summer and work on their craft and work on what they need to and add things and add layers to their game. SGA was a really talented player when he was with the Clippers, but he was kind of just a young, good prospect that could be added to a Paul George trade. But he meticulously worked on his game. He worked on his playmaking, worked on his mid-range, worked on his three-point shooting, continuously worked, became an all-star level player, and then became an all-NBA level player, and then became an MVP candidate, and now arguably one of the best players in the world. So there's a lot of steps to that stuff. And yes, it can accelerate and bubble and snowball quickly, but no pun intended. But there is like that patience that's required, because really in a rebuild, and the Thunder fans can tell you this, in a rebuild, you don't know what you have yet. And I'm not out here saying that the Raptors will become the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm not out here saying that Scottie is going to become SGA. I'm out here saying that like we really don't know what we're going to be able to see from this team until we see it. And folks, they're finally getting healthy, and now we're able to finally see it. So that's it. That's all I got. You got the W. Raptors got their first win. New year, new Raps. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed. Had a safe New Year's Eve. Like, comment, subscribe. Do the things that you guys usually do to get this video out to other people. As always, blessed. Thank you. Peace out. See you guys later.